In the name of the Father, and the Son, and the Holy Spirit, one God, amen. So, very interesting topic that I was searching for a long time, and I attended some talks about it. You see what's happening in the world these days, guys? Wars, bombing, right and left, nothing is stable up to right now. God is not in there. In the Western area, in North America, they believe in one thing called science. Eastern area, they don't know anything about God. They know God, but in a different way. And people are just messed up with a lot of things in their life. Is God going to sit down and watch? No. That's what we think. We sometimes ask, why doesn't... Albert, I didn't press the button. So sometimes we ask, is God there? Yes. Is he going to stay looking and staring about what's happening? No. Every time or era of human life, God always reveals himself one way or the other. This is the time of science? Okay, let's go for science. And things happen that we don't even recognize that it was there, and it turns out to be a mysterious thing. Years and years ago, people had a thought that a piece of cloth in a chapel in Turin, and they had a myth saying that somebody wiped Jesus' face as he was going to crucifixion, and it came the picture of Jesus in there. And that was the whole story, starting from the day this piece of cloth appeared until very lately. A group of scientists called the Vatican and asked them, is this piece of cloth that you think is there is going to determine your faith? So eventually, Pope John Paul II, he was a saint, he said nothing is going to change. So they gave a project to the Catholic Church. This group of people, their main intention was to destroy this thing and to prove that this was just a myth, a painting that was done some years and years ago, and it is only that it is. Somebody drew a picture or whatever on a piece of cloth that they folded down and they put it in there. The three guys that started this project, one was a complete atheist, Ian Wilson. This guy devoted his life now to the Shroud, and he travels all over the world saying the story of what he did. He was a complete atheist. He believed nothing in what we call God. The second one was a Jewish guy, and all what he wanted to say that this is Christianity was based on all myth. It's something superstitious that didn't even happen. I think his name was Craig Schultz. Eric Jumper was the one that was enthusiastic about it. He was a Christian, but he didn't believe that much. He is one of the scientists of the U.S. Navy, and it's very well known that the U.S. Navy holds the best labs in the world. So these three people, they gave a project to the Catholic Church that they do a fair investigation about this piece of cloth, which they call the Turin Shroud. And John Paul II agreed, and he gave them the time, the place, and all they wanted. So they shipped over 45 tons of equipments. Some of these equipments are very, very high technology ones, like the VP8 image analyzer. Whoever knows this, this machine is almost like half a ton by itself. The VP8 image analyzer is the one that They could even see the horizon with it and the end and the black holes. It's a very high technology one. They went there, stayed, I think, 120 hours of complete investigation, picturing. They took off that piece of cloth for the first time, for the second time, and they lay it on a big table, and they started picturing every single thing. And every time they go to investigate one thing, it goes deeper and deeper, as if God is telling them, you want to climb the mountain of knowledge? Come on. Where is the end? And every time they find, oh, here's the top of the mountain, they found another mountain on top of it. And things are going up and up. What is the story of this Turin shroud? In 1889, a big photographer, Italian photographer, his name is Condopia. He asked the permission to take a picture of this shroud. And he did. He went back to his lab زمان كان في developers and fixers. So they take the film and they put it in a developer, and then they take it out, they leave it, and then they put it in a fixer. So the developer takes out the ions, the calcium ions, and the hazy picture comes, which in Arabic we call it afrita, if anybody knows the negative part, and then they put it in another, they call it the afrita, this is what it is. And then they put it in the fixer, which fixes the picture on the film. It's a film that عبارة عن sensitive sheet of cellulose paper. I know this because it was done in dentistry at the time I was a dentist in Egypt. This is how we took the pictures of teeth. Now it's all digital. And then the picture comes in. So as he put it in the developer first, he comes up, oh, what is this? This is the positive one. I didn't put it in the fixer yet. Oh, there must be something wrong. Let me go back and take another picture. And every time he takes a picture, the same thing comes to him. He gave up. And he passed this knowledge all over the place. What is the shroud? The shroud is a piece of cloth that is 4 meters by 110. It's 2 folds down. On each side of it has 2 pictures. One has front, one has a back of a dead man wrapped in this. Funny. There is no rope or something that says that he was wrapped. It was like 2 cloths on top of each other, 2 pictures there, dead man, and the dead man seems to be like having a lot of blood all around his face, around his arms, around his legs. That's what it is. To understand what happened to this, we need to know the history of the shroud. If we go to the Christian background, the exact history of this piece of cloth is amazing. Thaddeus, the disciple of Jesus, is the one who took this. For some reason, I don't know why he was the one who took it. And that was at the year 38. That's written in the Christian dogmas, whether in the Catholic or in our church, it's all the same. At the 38, he took it with him. He went to a place called Edessa. Edessa is in Turkey. It's in northern Turkey, where most of Christianity started in the Asian part there. And he took it with him as a blessing. I don't know. And the history doesn't seem to say, did he knew something about it? Or he didn't know? We don't know. When they took it there, people there were very happy. Christianity started to spread. There was a very big church. It's in Bulgaria right now. They turned it to be a mosque. It's called Hagia Sophia. Hagia Sophia is a big saint. Now they teared it down and they made it a big mosque. But most of the Christian treasures that the apostle tried to get out of Jerusalem, thinking that the Jewish is going to destroy it, they put it in that church, including the nails that St. Helena found, parts of the cross itself. It's still there up to right now. Whoever can visit the Vatican, there is several churches there that has these treasures. And one of these treasures was the shroud. It was sitting there, folded up in a way that you only see the face of the person who was dead there. It stayed there until the 525 AD, all the way to 1204. 1204, a war happened, the Crusader Wars. The Catholic invaders wanted to pursue the Constantinople Church, which they are Orthodox, to come back to be under the Catholic Pope. And of course, that was wrong. This is unchristian, but this is what happened. They would just destroy any treasure in anything treasury with the Orthodox. So in the Orthodox Church started some people making groups. Like we can make a group here, we'll take care of the cross here, we'll take care of this. So one of the groups, they are called the Knight Templars. The Knight Templars is a very popular group of Christian Orthodox. And their main concern, they were a rich people, they were extremely rich people at that time. Their main concern is to take these treasures and hide them away from the Crusaders, because these Crusaders would do nothing but just destroy. Until this year, 1204, we knew nothing about the shroud. And suddenly, 150 years after, a woman called Margaret de Charnier in France, in a place called Léry. Léry is 100 miles south of Paris. She just announced, I have a Christian treasure. It's in a box, like a chapel, a small chapel. You can easily see the face of the person who's there on that box. And Margaret de Charnier, she was a very wealthy woman. For some reason, her husband, Geoffrey, passed away. She became poor, thinking that she can get some money out of this. She started demonstrating this treasure to the public. Now, the Vatican Church knew about it, so they started contacting her. And step by step, she knew that she didn't have any offspring. She doesn't have kids. So she donated this treasure. She didn't know. All what they thought, it's a piece of cloth that somebody, saint called Verona, wiped the face of Christ on it. I don't know where they get this story from, but that was the story told at that time. She donated it to one of the biggest families, the Savoy family. It's an Italian family. And willingly she took this. The family took this, put it in a new small box chapel, folded the same way, and put it in their main chapel, which is in Turin. It's called the Chapel of St. John the Baptist. And it's there up till right now, up till the moment we are talking. Where did it go these 150 years? We need to know, because people say, oh, somebody must messed up this thing in there. Ian Wilson is a historian, so what he did, he investigated what is going on, and the key was the name. How did this treasure went from Asia Minor in almost very close to Istanbul or Constantinople, 225,000 miles away to a place called Léry in France? At that time, to travel this distance was not easy. So he went into the Knight Templars papers and documents, and he found that one of their main directors, the board of directors, his last name was de Charnier, the same last name like that, Margaret. So he linked up that one of them most probably was related to that family. And when the war started, the Crusader Wars, the last 150 years was so aggressive, to the fact that they even destroyed everything. They destroyed churches. Yet they are Christians, but they destroyed churches. They destroyed a lot of monuments and a lot of things that are treasures in there. To take care of this piece of cloth, most probably that de Charnier guy took it with him to his mainland, which is France, and that's how over these years, he gave it to his sons and daughters, and this guy passed away. Ian Wilson made a big book on that, and he has a lot of documents, and he even photocopied parts of these Knight Templars. To accept new members in there, they had to stand in front of this piece of cloth and to make the vow there or to make a prayer there. At the end of the day, it is a piece of cloth in there. It stays in Turin, in Italy, and it's still there up till right now. I know this is a boring history, but we need to know where did this come from. But at the year 1978, when Eric Jumper went and asked Pope for this examiners to go, they went there and went back with all their images. And what they found was fascinating. Over and above what they think of, that up till right now, there is called STUP, which is Shroud of Turin project, is still running up till right now, and they're still investigating up till right now. And as I said, every time they go and thinking that they found something, they found another deep thing that they can't even explain what's going on. 40 scientists from the whole world. Swiss Max Fry is the #1 forensic guy in the whole world. He's very well known. When there is a big myth and they want a professional guy, they hire this guy. Eric Jumper is one of the best in the U.S. Navy. Ian Wilson is a big historian. The other Jewish guy, he's the one that made the website of the shroud itself. His name is Barry. Barry is a big physicist and scientist, and another lady called Isabel Pitches. We're going to see her afterwards. And they made, as you see, lots of investigation. What did they find out? They went there on one thing. This is a piece of cloth that somebody drew. What they found out was fascinating. Things they didn't even think is going to be there. To draw something, you need the image to see now. They went back to the records and they found this Compodea pictures that he took, and it was a negative, and they said, what is this? If you take a picture of a man first in the first few years before the digital cameras come, you have to put it in a developer. This is what comes out. And then you have to put it in a fixer, and this comes out. What they found is the opposite. When they take a picture, this comes out. So the picture is a positive, and what they take is a negative. How does this happen? They couldn't find an answer up to right now. We'll go one by one. Just hang on to me, guys, and I'll explain everything later on, because everything has a meaning. So the picture is a negative. It's not a positive. When I want to picture Albert is a positive subject or object in front of me. When I take a picture, the negative comes, and then I put it in a fixer, the positive comes. When they did that, the opposite happened. For them, they couldn't find an answer. Why would a guy wants to paint a picture, paint it in a negative way? How can he do that at that time? This piece of cloth has been there since ever, and nobody touched it. Even the Vatican would never allow it. The first time that came out of its box was twice. One time, 150 years after they found it, because there was a big fire, and they wanted to save it, so they took it out. Funny, there's some parts got destroyed, but alhamdulillah, بعيد عن الpicture, away from the picture. And they had to fix it, then they folded back. 700 years after, the second time is this Compodea guy to take a picture of it. And the third time when these people, the 40 people, started to make investigations on it. So it didn't come out so much often. How a man would draw a picture in a negative way? That's not possible. What is the features of the image in there? The features of the image is very weird. There is no evidence of a paint. It's not painted. There is no evidence of a brush. When you paint, you have to use a brush. The brush has bristles. And whatever you do, the bristles, or you're under the microscope, you have to see the bristles of the brushes. There's nothing called that. There's nothing there. The picture itself, when they take parts of it, what they do, they got a cellulose strips. Did you see who works in a lab here? He can tell you, or who worked in a lab, or who went to university in a lab. أكيد أنت Marina. Did you see the cellulose strips, the small strips they take samples with? So when they take it out and they put it in water, they put it in any chemical, it is thermally and or water stable. It doesn't change. If you have a paint, it's either painted by epoxy or it's painted by oil, right? Any of these, thermal or water, will affect them. So this doesn't happen here. There is an optical phenomena of the picture that is unbelievable. The more you come closer to it, you don't see anything. If you want to see a clear picture of what is going on when they put it on the wall, the more further you go, the more the picture comes clear. What does that mean? It means the picture lacks boundaries. Our eyes can see objects by boundaries. So the changing colors in the boundaries, what makes our eyes determine what is this picture or how it is. The more close you come, you see nothing. The more further you go, it keeps coming clearer and clearer and clearer. Why is this? We're going to find out afterwards. So the sharp boundaries, there is no sharp boundaries, and the whole thing is made of yellow. Now they wanted to know, what is this piece of cloth? It's a linen piece of cloth that is made by a knoll. Knoll in English, I don't know what is a knoll in English. You know that big machine that does the cotton things that they have to roll back and forth?
Spinning, I think.
I don't know what do they call it, ya Ulad?
Spinning or weaving.
I don't know. It's that old machine that girls used to go right and left with it, so they make the knots. Okay. So they took it was called what? Weaver. So they took a part of this under the microscope, and they knew that this is made with cotton. Yani loom. Loom, thank you. So, and they looked at it, the cotton, we know quite well that Sennacherib is the one who introduced the cotton in the Middle East. Cotton was never known to European people. So this piece of cloth was definitely made in the Middle East. The way it is, the knots are done, is a very well known in the Middle East between Egypt, Palestine, Syria, Iraq area. Because the way they do these cotton things there's only one way to do it, is one up and one down, one up and one down. And that was the exact same way the piece of cloth with. When they went into the details, this is how the fibers of the shroud is. The dark and light areas, they don't know what it is. That's when you come closer, you see nothing. But that's what creates the image when you go further away, seeing the dark and light. This is what gets the exact image.
Cotton or linen?
Linen and cotton, both. It's a mixture of cotton. Sir Max Fry, he's a big forensic investigator in the whole world. He made an investigation about this, and he said that the knoll, or whatever it is called, is one done in the Middle East for sure. It is a mix, that the machine who did this had cotton and linen in it, which is the only way they did it in the Middle East. It is not well known. And God made this for a reason we'll know afterwards, so that the picture can come. Otherwise, if it was made with cotton only, the picture will never be.
I ask it because what's mentioned in the Bible is linen.
Linen, yeah. It's a mixture of linen, but the machine makes cotton as well. Fascinating. They thought that the picture has a one. When we draw something, you have an XY dimension. So the XY dimension creates an image. Funny. This picture is 3D, meaning it has a depth. So the picture on the cloth has 3 parameters, X, Y, and Z. And what Isabel, a Hungarian scientist, Isabel Pitchell, I think, what she made is she took a picture of this and she made a wax model, and she created a statue of Christ in the tomb. And she started studying the features of this statue. So the image doesn't have a paint, there is no media, there is no brush. Who from the middle centuries will ever know these things to paint or to do? Somebody had to engrave this in the linen or in the cotton. the technology, they can't, up to right now, they cannot produce that kind of picture on the same sort of fiber. The picture is 3D. It gave them a new thing that they didn't even think about. So the back is the back of the guy, and the one on the front is on the front of who was there. Let's assume he's a person that was crucified and died, wrapped in this linen, and for some reason the body created that image, which we don't know how, why, where, and when, and miraculously this body was, or unmiraculously, we don't know yet, this body was removed and this piece of cloth was there. They wanted to know, is this piece of cloth is really Jesus or not? The way our Lord was crucified and the things that happened during the crucifixion that was in the Bible is unique. They did not find people had thrown tag of thrones on their head before crucifixion. This is very unique to Jesus, who was slapped before crucifixion, who was crucified by the same things, who fell when he was holding the cross. Every time they get one of these things from the Bible and they investigate it in there, even the smallest thing, what did they say in the Bible? They spit on him. Funny. They found the serum of saliva in there. Saliva is a calcium, serum, and fluids, mainly water. All these things will evaporate. The serum will ever continuously stay there. And they find it right on his cheeks. So they literally did that. Yes, Ingrid.
Are we allowed to ask questions?
You are. Why not?
I'm just wondering, when it was Joseph of Arimathea who took Jesus, right, to bury him and wrap him in cloth, wasn't there some ritual in terms of cleaning the body before they
That's, what happened, you're right, this is absolutely a very good question. And Ian Wilson answered this, and he said, at the time Jesus was dying, it was the Sabbath. So they had to run and fast, even they didn't wrap have you seen how the Jewish people bury the dead? Okay. They put the cloth around them, and they have to wrap. Even, I'll tell you funny, in Egypt, in Upper Egypt, they do the same thing. True? They wrap something around the head because they think that bad stuff is going to go in the mouth. God knows what it is. It doesn't make sense to me, but this is how they think. They have to wrap it around so the mouth is closed. Then they have to close the eyes. And they still do the same in Upper Egypt too. And even in everywhere. They have to close the eyes, wrap things around the eyes, then wrap the whole body around. Then they bury him. What happened is with Jesus was not that. They had to fast, put him in right now, leave him in there, and then the next day the Miriams were coming to anoint the body and to clean the blood out and do all these things. And they have to read some psalms around it. مش كده أكرم مظبوط؟ مش هم حتى لغاية دلوقتي في مصر بيقروا مزامير برضه. يعني up to right now in Egypt is the same thing. They read psalms around when they're doing this. It's a specific. الصعيد كلها هنا هي. أنا نسيت. Sorry يا تريز. وبيحشوا كل الorifices, all the orifices. So everywhere, even the back here, everywhere they close all the orifices. So this is a pure Jewish tradition.
They wrapped him like a book.
They wrapped him like a book. No, they didn't have the time, Ingrid. So when they went on Sunday or early Sunday after the Miriams went there and they didn't find the body. So what they did is they just ran and told Peter. It is very well known that Joseph of Arimathea, St. Luke the Apostle were very close friends. And St. Luke was very much devoted to the Christian treasures. St. Thaddeus and St. Luke were very close and almost, I don't know if it's true or not, but they say it's family members, or they are related somehow, or they were close friends, whatever. And that makes sense how Thaddeus took it out quickly, so possibly Joseph told them, take these things out. And he took even the chalice where Jesus drank the wine. They took a lot of things. Most of these treasures are gone. Some of them are still in the Vatican. I know that the nails are there. Parts of the cross is there. Chalice is gone, but the chalice, there's a big story around it. People say it is there, and some of they say it's not there. We don't know. Where did they get the picture of Jesus? Okay, St. Luke, he adopted a guy from the Roman Empire. He went to a city where he found a guy that he's a talented drawer. Like he's a talented guy. And he was in prison and he was in a bad shape, so he introduced Christianity to him. And he gave him the opportunity to draw most of the apostles that we have the picture up to right now. So he took him with him and he passed over one every other. So St. Paul, where is St. Paul today? St. Paul is in Ephesus. Let's go to Ephesus. Here's St. Paul. Draw the picture of St. Paul really quick. Let's go to the next. And that's how we got the pictures. These pictures are thousands of years. Of course, some modifications happened. I don't know. But this story is true. That St. Luke went even for Virgin Mary and he got the picture. Where did he get the picture of Jesus? That's the big question mark. Jesus in the middle. And that guy drew it. Where did he get that picture from? So most probably, we don't know. All of this is assumptions, guys, so don't take this as facts. Somebody showed him the shroud. Told him, this is how Jesus looked like. Draw it. All the icons in Hagia Sophia in Bulgaria, when it was there, the pictures was very close to the picture of Jesus. Nowadays, they have a clear picture of Jesus in the tomb. They have an idea how he looked like from that picture. But let's go back to the shroud and see. So now they want to prove this is the piece of cloth that Jesus was in at the time he was dead in the tomb. All what happened to him was unique. So they take every single aspect and they investigate. Is this true or not? Let's see what they found. Amazing. The story of Passion, they can see it there. So what they found out, on the back, there is lashes. You can see how our Lord was tortured. So the movie Passion of Christ, we think it's violent. I think it's a lot very close to reality. The way in the shroud, 39 slabs with the worst thing is called the lancea. The Roman lancea has 3 strips made of wire, and each has 3 bones in it with sharp edges. And each time, and what they found out that the guy was 2 big guys. Even they knew what force coming in, so they knew that the guy on the left was more than the guy on the right. How did they know these things? The picture had a lot of analyzing properties in there. Forensic. It's all forensic, yeah, it's all forensic. They knew everything. Nowadays, forensic can even determine things. They sometimes come to us as dentists and they say, is this your patient? I had this in my clinic one time. I had the police coming in saying, is this your patient named so-and-so?
What are they showing you?
They're showing me whatever his teeth was looking like.
That's what I was afraid
A
of.
picture, no, it's not showing the whole picture of. And I had to go to my records and say, yes, it was him. Well, he went on, whatever happened to him, he went on jogging in one of these 16-mile creek or whatever, and he died. They wanted to make sure that this body is him after decomposed. So forensic can say a lot of things. Even small details we can tell. So they knew that there was 2, one on the right, one on the left. Our Lord Jesus Christ was on his knees down on a piece of something in the middle, and his hands was like that. Unlike the movie that you think he was like this. No, He was not like that. He was on the ground and his back tilted. And one was going like that, and the other one was going on the other side like this. 39, because they don't go to 40, thinking they might miss one, so they don't go over. And they counted 39 by 3 by 3. So how many lashes? Count. Each one going out on his back, and each one tearing part of the skin out and opening wounds. Crown of thorns. Who was crucified with a crown of thorns? I don't think our Lord was one of the I think he's the only one who's done that. On the picture head, if you guys concentrate with me, you can see part that is shining white. You see these parts, the white shining parts? These are the needles that was going into his head. This is how the crown, they created it, and it has 2 big needles on each side. 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. This is how the face looked like. Here, it seems like he's an old man. No. When they did the forensic studies, they said this guy is between 30, 35. He was 6'1" or 6'2". It's pretty tall. It's pretty tall. And he had a beard, and his hair was long on the sides. Look at this picture, and look at our icons. Take a picture of the Coptic icons in your head. It's very similar to that. In here, if you see his cheeks, on the right cheeks was a little swollen. And that's from slapping. So he got slapped. They spit on him. He had a crown of thorns. He had lashes on his back. Who had all these things? Now, this is very funny. I know you guys know it. The nail, everybody thinks the nail came in here. Of course not. It's going to tear the body and go down. So, where did the nail go? The nail went, Akram, as a doctor, you'll tell us, that in here, there is 3 big bones. Between the 3 big bones, the space of this toit. This toit space. Yes. Kinesiology. This toit space. Oh my God. Where is the anatomy, guys? This toit. Space of this toit. It's a triangular space between the 3 bones that holds the metacarpals. In that space, so no bone will be. Did any bone break? No. The nail went right through this space. Inside this space, the median nerve. The median nerve is a motor sensory nerve to the thumb. Where is the thumb here? In the picture, they count 4 and 4. So the thumb is inside. Does this make look like a painting guy did that? How can you know? In the 1100, the anatomy, Harvey investigated about anatomy maybe 500-600 years after this. It's exactly the same. A median nerve, and the nerve went in. These 2 thumbs are in, so the way he was, he's like this. You got it? That gave us to the next step. So the icons say that he was nailed here. No, he was nailed here. In the shroud, they found on the side of the body, between the very last rib and the rib before, a rectangular, square piece of flesh not there. What happened? This. Al-Harba. Who was beaten with this during his crucifixion? So we found 2 types of blood. Blood before death is different than blood after death. Blood before death coagulates because it has the coagulant factor. Once that person dies, the blood, only the serum that can stay, which is the media where the red blood cells and the white blood cells stays in. So they found the post-mortem blood. The blood group was AB. It's a very rare, very unique. And they found that the blood that came and water from the side, what is this water? Where do you think this water came from? And did it came after or before he died? Right before he died or right after he died? Right after he died. The water is the fluid, the pleural infusion. There is a fluid that the whole thorax stays in. The thorax holds two parts, two lungs. In between is the heart. This is all in a case, in a sack full of fluid, and that is the fluid that came out. Funny. The medical reason the person died there has a lot to explain why this water came out. Because everybody thinks that Jesus died by choking, asphyxia. No, it's not true. We're going to find out. I'm moving with you one by one. On the side there, if you see the picture, you'll find where exactly this harba went, or this piece of metal went in there. And this is how they pictured it, by the way. Now, on the cross, a person who's crucified normally dies by choking. He can't breathe. Why? To breathe on the cross, a person on the cross to breathe, he has to support his body by his legs on the one nail there. Push his body up and go to either sides to take a breath, and then he goes down. And then he goes up and down. So all the time, the person on the cross does that. Until cramp happens to the legs, he can't go up and he dies. This is how everybody on the cross died. What about our Lord? Funny, our Lord didn't die by this. These movements, how much pain can you get when you support your legs on one big nail, torturing your ligaments there, and every time pushing your body up towards one side? How many hours Jesus stayed on the cross? 3. 3 hours continuous pain, going up and down, up and down. The body they found in the shroud died when he was in the state of up. So, does this mean that he choked? No. So he didn't choke. We will know why and how. So he didn't die of choking. He died of something else, and that will explain the water later on. Is this the true shroud of Jesus? Yes, they did the carbon testing. It is not accurate 100%, but it's very well known that carbon-14 is approximate. It goes to the 1st century. They did, Sir Max Fry found pollen grains for trees that does not grow anymore and does not grow except in the Palestine area. So this is one of the fascinating things. Picture of a crucified person who was crucified by all these details that's in the Bible one by one. Does this seem to be going towards this is most probably the shroud of Jesus. This is most probably the piece of cloth that he was in the tomb. This is exactly what happened to him. And up till right now, how did this image created? They don't know. There is theories until one lady came with the exact theory which they think is the most accurate, but they cannot do it. Let's move. How did he die? Let's go back with the history. Go back with your mind. Jesus knew that he's going on the cross. Everybody left him. Psychological pain. He went to pray, came back. He found nobody. Peter, his disciple that he loved, because that was one of the 3 that he took during the transfiguration, he just knocked him off. He said, I don't know him. Find himself a sinless God on the cross for you and me. Psychological pain. What gave him what we call a cardiac rupture. Akram will know cardiac rupture happens when people are in big, deep pain, losing friends, family members. It does happen. We see it in the hospitals a lot. Cardiac pain will what? Will get the water of the sac to rupture out of it. So Jesus died by cardiac arrest. And why? Cardiac arrest. It's like stoppage of, yani, somehow the heart stopped. Sac is the sac that holds the two lungs and the heart in between. And that's why water came out. It's not water, it's serum, by the way. So bowing down the head and Jesus up. This is, what do they call this? لا انتوا واضح انتوا بتروحوا الجامعة منظر. Sternocleidomastoid. This muscle cannot be up when you are not breathing. Jesus died when he was like this. So this muscle is down, so he was breathing during his death. It's a very complicated medical thing, but take it this way, that this muscle only stretches out when you're not inhaling. So bowing his head, the sternocleidomastoid action comes. There is post-mortem blood in there, which we know that this is blood after death. So he didn't die by asphyxia as the body was up. He was so sad and he got a cardiac arrest. So that is a person was crucified, was tortured the way most probably the Bible said. And by some way, this picture came up with no definite idea how it was created. The body is not there. And he died by a cardiac arrest. How did this image was formed? So what they did is they went... Funny, this lady went to Hiroshima pictures during the atomic bombing. And what she found out, a lot of pictures is like that. The moment the bomb went in, the moment bodies were decomposed, it's a nuclear weapon, leaving a shadow on the walls. They found a lot of these shadows on the walls. This is a kid who's playing and he was jumping on a rope or whatever, and the bomb came at the same time. And the shadow was there. So most probably, this is the way the picture came. There was what we call a scorch. You know what's a scorch? بالعربي عشان لفح حراري. بالعربي لفح حراري. أنا ما أعرفش اسمها كده بالعربي بس I know it in English it's a scorch. You know guys what's a scorch? It's a momentum heat with a high wavelength. Momentum heat like laser. So the actual image was created by an unknown phenomena that caused rapid cellulose degradation or aging. So the cellulose fibers, in a momentum, it got oxidized and it aged. Aging of the cellulose fibers take years, but this happened in a moment with a severe high wavelength or high energy. It's an accelerated oxidation of the top fibers only, leaving the deep fibers as is. And that is unbelievable. How can you do that? They try to generate the same amount of energy nuclear in a lab and do it on the fibers. The whole fiber will degrade and the whole fiber will age, leaving nothing but black images. How did this happen on the top linen fibers only, leaving the back fibers as is? It's a mysterious thing. Up to right now, they don't know. But funny.
That's how the image was preserved.
That's what they think the image came. The image came by an unknown phenomena that is there. But they don't know what it is. It is a scorch, which is a high wavelength energy with a huge amount of heat that affected the most top linen fibers, creating that image at that time And that energy left at the same time in a momentum. So it's a moment. Funny. What they found out that this is the resurrection. The shroud really proves that this is a resurrection. There is. How did they prove that? It's very easy. Number one, the body in there, a body that dies in a few moments after decomposition starts. I think Akram knows these things. Cellular decomposition starts right away. At a different levels, yes. The brain is the first level to go. Correct, ya Akram? صلح لي لو أنا غلط. That's what I know. And I know that the muscle fibers is the least that stays in there until days or weeks or years. The bone stays more and more. The skeleton can be there for thousands or hundreds of years. Is there any evidence of a decomposition? No. So the body did not decompose. But there is a state of trigger, which is the state of death. The body is in a state, what they call a trigger. When they get a doctor to examine somebody, whether he's dead or alive, this is the state they say. The doctor sees the phenomena of trigger. He says, this person is dead. The person in the shroud was in the state of trigger. بالعربي تخشب. Trigger means froze. Rigor, sorry. Yeah. So it's like frozen thing. Nothing is moving. So he died. Is there any decomposition? No. So there is no decomposition. The flow of blood was not disrupted. Okay, there's a body wrapped in a linen cloth. You're going to remove this body by hand. What's going to happen to the blood cells? Is it going to go straight as if it's going by gravity? Or it's going to get disrupted? It's going to go all over the place. No. The wounds is there as if it's there now, as if the body is still there. So the body was removed by a miraculous way that did not disturb the blood flow, that did not disturb the picture, and yet the picture was found by something they don't know. Yes, yes, yes. No, the picture has boundaries, but the boundaries is not clear until you go back. You can't come to the boundaries. When you go to the picture very close, you can't see the details. You have to be back. You have to give yourself 2-3 feet so that you can see the boundaries. Why? Because the image is very superficial. It's only on the first very thin layer of the linen. It doesn't go deep. So it's very superficial. It's only the first few layers. لا الصورة صورة. Yeah, no مش آثار دم. No. صورة حقيقية. Yeah. Using the VP8 image analyzer, they tried to create this with a very low wavelength. They got a similar thing, but not exact. Funny, there's a lady, she said, no, I'm going to study this thing, and I want to study the position of the body in the tomb on the shroud. She's a particle physicist, and very well known that these particle physicists are like the top of everything. And she found an amazing thing. What did she find? Bear with me 1 second. If you know what is the event horizon, do you know what's the event horizon? In the end of the universe, they found what they call black holes. And on the surface of these black holes, they call it the event horizon. And they call it this because at that part, the laws of physics seems to disintegrate. So there is no gravity, there is no time, there is no force, there is no stress, there is no strain. مش ده الفيزيكس اللي انتوا بتاخدوه ولا نسيتوه كمان؟ يا دي النيل انا بكلم الناس نايمه باين عليا. So at that point, the laws of physics disintegrate. What she did is she studied the position of the body in the tomb. Miraculously, she found something amazing. To see a muscle, there's something called electromyogram. اوعي تقولي لي ما تعرفيهوش ده. The electromyogram, it actually gives how the muscle is stretched or if the muscle is compressed. Am I right? Okay. What she found, that the body was not, the muscles of the body was not compressed against the stone. What? Huh? It was not touching. So, what does that mean? That means that the body was hovering between the two sides of the piece of cloth, and the piece of cloth was so taut. T-A-U-T, taut is like mashduda, and is not crumply. What? The muscles was not crunched against the stone. تاني. The muscles was not crunched against the stones. يعني البody was not on the stone of the tomb. التوم المقبرة ليها أرض. البody مش محطوط على الأرض. البody is hovering. متشال ومحطوط على interface. By the compression of the muscle. It was not compressed. I'll show you her video right now. So the muscles was not compressed against the tombstone. So the body was hovering, leaving an interface. And that interface, and at that point of interface, is exactly the same as the event horizon in there. And at that event horizon, outside the event horizon, there is something called singularity. Did you hear this word? Singularity is actually what started the universe. This is what started the Big Bang. And that's what started the universe. And you can find nothing in the tomb of Jesus but exactly the start of a new life. People think that the tomb is death. On the opposite. With Christ, the tomb was resurrection. The tomb was life. And what started life thousands of years, 2,000 years, he started a new life for me and you. And that new life was the resurrection.
What's the singularity?
Singularity is the process by the Big Bang Theory. How did the Big Bang Theory start? It's very well known in science.
It's the trigger.
It's the trigger that made the Big Bang. Okay. So what they found is in the tomb of Jesus, at that interface that projected the picture up and projected the picture down. So the body was in the middle. There's an interface. The body projected the picture up, projected the picture down. And the piece of cloth was not just wrinkled, was taut around it. And the body was hovering all over the place. So there's no law of gravity. And what get the picture to be there is very similar to the nuclear Hiroshima picture. And that is nothing but the resurrection. That the power of resurrection. That in the depth of the tomb, what we see is a new life. That we all think that is the end of being. Jesus made, it's the beginning of every being of us. And they up to right now, they're still investigating and they're still going. And they keep going and going. The last thing, which I don't know, so I'm not going to talk about it, they're studying the DNA of the blood. And they find mysterious. If you know sex genes, X and Y, there is X, Y, or Y, Y. Is there anything called XX? No. Rug. Jesus is XX. There's no Y. So there's no man. Did you figure that out? Do you understand? So the gene is a complete X gene. It's not posted yet, so we don't want to talk about it, and I'm not going to talk about it until it is proven. The resurrection, the investigations about the shroud is still going up till the moment I'm talking. It started 1978, results came 81, 92, and they keep going. And if you go on the website shroud.com, every time they put a new release. And in every time they want to go to try to find something to say that this is a piece of myth, they go deeper, they found themselves stuck by a big mountain, that this is the tomb this is the shroud of Christ. And this is the real Christ that was buried there. And he wanted to tell us, you think that your science is bigger than me? I'm still bigger than science. I'm going to be still there. You want to talk science? I'm talking science. St. Thomas told him, I'm not going to believe until I put my fingers in there. And he's now telling people, come, put your fingers in here again and see what I did for you. There's nothing but the resurrection of our Jesus Christ in the shroud. It's clear that the body there was unique person. And anthropologists said he's a Jewish guy, 6'1" tall, has the same difira. I don't know what does difira means in English. Braid, like what the Jewish braid does, especially here. They have a special way of doing it. If you go to Jerusalem, you'll see. And he was crucified by this, and this, and miraculously, the body was removed with a way that they don't know, and they can't find out what it is. Thank you, Jesus, for being for us. And you bear all these things that we see. We sometimes, a nail comes into our leg, we keep crying for hours. He was slapped, slashed, boxed, spit on him. If one guy talks bad with a girl or with another boy, oh, this is like, oh, holy, how dare him he talks like this. I'm not going to talk to him again, uncle. I'm not going to talk, and don't tell me to forgive. Hey, hello. He was spit on. He got slapped on the face. He took 39 slashes on his back, and he was an innocent. He lived nothing but for you. And at the end, he gave you nothing but a new life. If you want to resurrect with him, you have to live with him. Because in the depth of death is nothing but the resurrection of Jesus Christ. Glory be to God forever and ever. Thank you. Any questions? Yeah, go.
Spear when he was after he died.
The what? Yes. The spear after he died. That's why water came out.
That's why I was wondering at first.
Cardiac arrest.
That's what happened. It hit his heart.
Yeah, it hit the membrane. اسمه إيه يا أكرم? Pleural membrane. It hit the pleural membrane, and that's what the water came out.
I just sent you a link to a video that I saw a couple of years ago in a Catholic church before Christmas, and it's called The Miracle of Buenos Aires. And it's very, very interesting. It's in this church. Yeah,
I heard about it. I do.
Yeah, it became real flesh, and then they tested it, and they found it was baby blood. It was someone from anyway, it was just, it kind of matches what we've been talking about here. Like
Send it to me. I didn't see. Did you send it to me? Oh, just now.
And it's very, very, very.
I've been fascinated with studies about the shroud. I go on the website of Jeffrey all the time. He was a Jewish guy. Of course, now he's a Christian man. All of them, they do nothing. Ian Wilson quitted his work completely on the U.S. Navy, and he does nothing in life but go from one country to another, preaching what he said.
You said you will show us a video of the hovering of the body.
You want to see it? Yeah. الصوت بس هيطلع ازاي؟
common donor O. When's AB then? AB receiver.
AB receives only.
The 3 HDMI, you good.
Yeah, how can I?
You good. Just play it.
Okay, hang on, guys. Okay, do you want to listen? This is a really, I love this this video actually.
And share my link with Albert as well.
I will.